The United States is coming very close to a war with Russia. That is causing a lot of people to panic, specifically here inside the United States, but also abroad as well. What President Trump just announced today was actually pretty big news, but what the Pentagon had announced just the other day is actually pretty scary. Look at this right here. It says, U.S. can send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine without depleting stockpiles. This is according to the War Department. But what's interesting about this is that President Trump made it pretty clear that he did not want to send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine for a couple of different reasons. Number one, obviously it escalates the situation with Russia, and it escalates it at a very fast pace. The second reason why President Trump did not want to send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine is because experts said that that would deplete our stockpile, especially right now that the U.S. government is shut down. They say that is a huge concern. But the third reason, and one of the main reasons that President Trump publicly stated, was because it would potentially take months for the United States to teach Russia or Ukraine how to use the Tomahawk missiles, which in the end may just be a waste of time because Ukraine is saying they would never use them. Now, it actually opens up the door. But look at this right here. It says the Pentagon has given approval to the White House to send long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, potentially fulfilling President Vladimir Zelensky's desire for more weapons in his country's war with Russia if President Trump provides the final green light. It says the Hill reached out to the White House and the Pentagon for confirmation. The Defense Department's approval is reportedly based on an assessment that providing Tomahawks would not negatively impact U.S. stockpiles. Here's the thing. The United States needs to have a good amount in their stockpile for multiple reasons. What China and President Trump agreed to today, according to President Trump, he says that China is not going to invade Taiwan during his presidency. That President Xi Jinping already made it very clear that they have no intention to do anything during this administration. And I said this before, if China was going to do something, it would have been during the Biden administration, not a Trump administration. A Trump administration is going to go after China at full force. That is not what we need and not what the world needs either. So, being that that has been agreed upon, that takes the China invasion of Taiwan off the table. That means the United States should not have to be concerned with China at this moment, but we still have to be concerned with Russia, and now we have to be concerned with Venezuela. That's also one of the reasons why Venezuela is asking Russia to help with potentially defeating the United States. Again, that just means there's more pressure on the U.S. as we go up against Russia. But look at this. This was announced just earlier on this week. It said after Russia conducts nuclear weapons tests, Trump announces U.S. will restart its own. Here's what's interesting about this. The President Vladimir Putin, he said that Russia did not conduct a nuclear weapons test. But yet there were clear reports, there were video of Russia conducting these different tests. Yes, there wasn't a nuclear weapon, nuclear warhead on the missile, but there were nuclear capable missiles. That was the concern. President Trump says we are going to do the exact same thing. If Russia's testing nuclear weapons, the United States will be testing nuclear weapons as well, which we have not tested nuclear weapons above ground in more than 30 years. And so now there's a lot of questions as to how do we go about this. Look at this though. It says right here, Trump's frustration with Putin goes nuclear, and it's dividing Congress because now Congress is wondering what in the world is going on, and are you going to let us in if you decide to go to war with any country? President Trump, as of right now, has been targeting boats in the Caribbean. They're even going to target boats in the Pacific Ocean as well, if it looks like they're coming from Venezuela and going to deliver drugs. This is why the United States has built up a military force in the Caribbean, because we want to ensure that we have some stability in the region. I want to read this to you, though. It says, President Trump's decision to restart nuclear weapons testing as a warning to Moscow is being cheered by his Republican allies in Congress, while Democrats fume over what they describe as a dangerous and misguided retaliation. What's interesting about this is that some say that Russia is just trying to bait President Trump into attacking them first, into escalating the war so that Russia can attack the United States in some way. Now, it has been made pretty clear from Pentagon officials that they don't believe Russia would attack the United States physically, but they could do something like a cyber attack. They could shut down our transportation, which as of right now, with air traffic control and TSA pretty much overworked and not getting paid, that's going to be very difficult. But they could also affect our water supply. That would be a big hit on the United States. They could also affect our internet or our electricity, especially right now that we're coming into the colder months. That's one of the big concerns. And right now that stocks are at all-time highs, the big concern is, what if they attack Wall Street? What if they attack businesses? What if we see some type of shutdown or an outage of some kind? Remember when Microsoft had that outage? Remember when that happened? Or remember when certain Amazon companies or AWS had that outage? Remember what happened then? We couldn't do anything. We were pretty much stuck, twiddling our thumbs because everything was down. That was a huge hit. But that was the business itself. What if it's an outsider and somebody has a cyber attack against these companies? I don't know what's going to happen, but what I can tell you is you need to be prepared. But the fact that the Pentagon has given the green light to the White House saying that, yes, you can send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. That right there, according to Vladimir Putin, will be an escalation of war. However, do we go anywhere with this? Does this end the war between Russia and Ukraine? It possibly does, but it also could put a target on the US's back. So we're going to see what happens over the next several weeks, because I don't think President Trump just comes out and sends Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine after the Pentagon gave him the green light just a couple days ago. But he will likely have additional discussions. And as we have these additional discussions, we will see what he actually wants to do. But as of right now, the concern is that here in the United States, we should be on high alert because of whatever is going on over in Russia and Ukraine. So as we get more information on this, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates as soon as we get it. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.